died. But you're here. Gods, am I glad to see you. I'll keep trying. But there's not much to be done for Fort Northreach.
Envoy, hello. I'm glad to see you on your feet. Kai.
Tyeg.
I'm surprised they let you in here.
I'm surprised you're still gainfully employed.
It's nothing like that. You run into all sorts of characters around here, is all. Some more polite than others. I didn't mean anything by it, Envoy. He's just curious company for you to keep.
Hey, somebody has to have the envoys back, because you all sure didn't.
No one expected the Envoy to get assassinated.
Exactly. Amateurs. Well.
Kai?
Come on, it's funny. Tyeg caused a ruckus last time he was slumming it at the Balarok. You were trying to kill a man, if I remember right. I had to put you outside.
You threw me into the canal.
You lived.
That water's filthy. I had the runs for 3 days.
Gods, Tyeg. The envoy doesn't need to know that. Yeah, but now you'll never think of Tyeg the same way again, will you? And now he'll never think of you the same way either.
Let's not make more of it than it was. I shouldn't have said anything. The fellow cheated me. I couldn't let that slide. Or he'd think we were all marks.
It was over a dice game, right? Tyeg here has a gambling problem.
Great. Let's air all my troubles. Is there anything else?
The bartender sleeping with your girlfriend.
You're lying.
You sure about that?
We'll talk about this later.
I'm not breaking up with her for you. Just so we're clear.
That's more than enough. Thank you. Was there anything I could help you with, Envoy? The 7-foot-tall Aumaua with biceps the size of my head? No, I am not.
Flatterer. You know I'm barely over 6.5.
Naturally, Mom. How can I help you? There's a lot of ground to cover. Could you be more specific? Ah, the age-old question. Who's bigger? Adir is, naturally, by a wide margin. And were we at the Cartographers Guild in High Crown, I could show you on one of the globes. As it is, we must make do in the theater of our minds. The living lands are more arid than Adir, and the island is more prone to storms. But its many deep valleys protect the various townships from the worst of the weather. Topographically speaking, the living lands are a place of extremes. Deep inland, mountains rise high enough to rival those of the White March, blanketed year-round in snow. While east of the volcano of Mount Forja is an acid sea that sinks far below the level of the ocean. The lands between them are riven with deep clefts in the earth and isolated by wastelands of sun-baked sand dunes. The living lands are located in the far north of Eora. Adir is southwest of the living lands, situated along the equator. I'll share what I can. There is no singular authority in the living lands.
Not yet, anyway.
I shudder to think what the living lands would look like under your rule.
Well, to start, there'd be a lot more brothels.
Charming. Power is invested in the leaders of the various townships scattered across the island. The largest are Fjord, Thirdborn, and Solace. None of which, I will note, are as safe and orderly as Paradise. Fjord Messaverno is located in a valley known locally as the Emerald Stair, named for the terraced rice paddies that cover its hillsides. It is our closest neighbor. The city, if you can call it that, was founded 50 years ago by animancers from the Valian Republics. Apparently, the laws governing animancy weren't lenient enough in the Republics. So the city's founders came to the living lands, where they could practice their discipline more freely. Currently, Fjord is governed by a man named Ignacy Vidaro. Rather inept to hear the ambassador talk about him. Fjord's farmers supply most of the grain and vegetables we eat here in Paradise. Or it did. Their shipments have been infrequent lately. Something about a blight in the fields. In any event, I believe that covers Fjord. The Valian Republics are a collection of city-states in the Eastern Reach, southeast of our former colony, the Deerwood. The Republics began life as colonies of the Grand Empire of Valia, hence the name. But as Grand Valia's economy collapsed, well, the colonies saw an opportunity to escape the influence of the Empire of Origin, and they seceded, much as the Deerwood did from Adir. Now a mature confederation in their own right, the Republics have recently indulged their own expansionist ambitions in the Deadfire Archipelago. Through their merchants in the Valian Trading Company, the Republics will sell you anything you could ever wish to buy.
Up to and including people.
We should count ourselves lucky they've had no interest in the living lands. In a struggle between our Emperor and the Republic's great dukes, well, I doubt we would come out on top. But if anyone asks, I was not the one who told you that. Everything you need to know about Thirdborn is in its name. It was founded by the third-born children of Rauatai, Navy dropouts, smugglers, and hands for hire. Almawa and Orleans, mostly.
Home, sweet home.
You're free to go back any time you like.
I like my current circumstances just fine, thanks.
They are people, in short, who couldn't cut it in the civilized world and had to make room on the margins. Unfortunately, they are currently besieged by the Dream Scourge. We have sent some troops to lend what help we can, and the mayor, Temerity, was appropriately grateful, but I don't know how long they'll hold out. Rauatai is one of the old empires, every bit as storied as Grand Valia or our native Adir. If Adir is to the southwest of the living lands, Rauatai is to the southeast. And unlike our home, their small continent is racked by terrible storms. This is due, or rather, was due, to the island's proximity to Andra's mortar, the unending super hurricane that once hid the ancient city of Ukaizo. Rauatai is largely peopled by Almawa, descended from those who fled the Deadfire Archipelago centuries ago, when Andra pulled the moon, Ioni Brather, into the sea. They are an aggressive, militant culture, and personally I find their obsession with gunpowder rather quaint. They are also our chief rivals on the world stage.
I don't think they see it that way.
No?
Well, as far as Navy brass is concerned, Adir doesn't really rate.
Now you're just making things up.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but we don't think about you at all.
Solace is, what is there to say, really?
Yeah, they tend to have that effect on people.
The trouble is, I don't know much about Solace. Nobody does. They are an isolationist community of Pogrunan dwarves who live in the forbidding wastes of Galawain's tusks. They don't let outsiders into their lands, and they don't let their people out of them.
Some folks get out from time to time, but they can't ever go back. And the ones who survive aren't eager to talk about their experiences.
People aside, the land itself is incredibly hostile. The island's volcano, Mount Forja, rests at the heart of the region, and it's recently become active. Half the land is lava rock, and the other half is, well, literally lava. I don't know why anyone lives there. I have to assume they're all insane.
You have no idea.
Naturally. The Pogrunan are a unique community of mountain dwarves originating in Old Valia. As a people, they've made their name as explorers, builders, miners. No doubt you've seen their ruins in your travels, here, back home in Adir, and all across the world. They maintain a rich tradition of oral storytelling, chanted magics, and ritual carving, which they take great pains to record and transmit across their various communities. Even the most physically isolated Pogrun is not alone. Somewhere, one of their people is thinking of them and planning an expedition. Abidan must cherish them.
You sound like you admire them.
I suppose I do. I'm an open book. Consider yourself lucky. Inquisitor Ludwine is the commander of the Steel Garrote in Paradise. Were you to ask her, she'd say she keeps the peace. But she doesn't keep it so much as prosecute it. As ruthlessly as the ambassador will let her. She's also a veteran of the Steel Garrote's campaign in the Deathfire, where she died.
She's a Death Guard. Well, that explains a lot.
I don't know what happened to her there, but I suppose Wodika wasn't done with her yet. I only met her once. She was a mid-level member of the Steel Garrote then, chasing Oathbreakers who'd fled Adiran law. She'd come back to the Imperial Archives to borrow a map to a place called Oathbinder's Sanctum. I remember she was furious because the map was quite poor. She worried about finding the place, about properly executing her duty to her god. She wanted, I think, to do a good job. So, while clearly she has changed, in some sense, I'd say she's much the same. Death Guards are surpassingly rare. Some of the secretaries who traveled with our dignitaries in the Deathfire spoke of one named Iser, a devotee of Berith, who guards the hanging sepulchres there. But I've heard of no others except those I've read about in the histories, or, as you say, in stories. They are people, most often paladins or priests, so devoted to a cause that they simply refuse to pass on to the wheel when they die. Their soul haunts their body. The passion required to sustain them devours their flesh, and they swiftly turn to bone. I've never read a history nor tale of a death guard that did not end with them going quite mad. When they lose their capacity to care for anything but their cause, they cannot love. And when they cannot love, they cannot be merciful. And so everything before them becomes only an obstacle. Think upon your promises and die. That's the litany of the Steel Garrote, usually said right before they kill you. They're an order of paladins born and bred in Adir, though clearly they've found plenty of work beyond our borders. Their remit is simple but comprehensive. They punish all who break their oaths. In practice, That has historically meant contracts. One lord or merchant will hire the Steel Garrote to bring a duplicitous rival to justice.
Fun bunch. What are they doing in Paradise?
Since the events in the Deadfire, their operations have expanded. The Steel Garrote has always been associated with Wodeka. Now, they are explicitly her order. And they go wherever Wodeka's priests, or Wodeka herself, believes there is a need for them to go. The Living Lands are a dangerous, lawless frontier in sore need of order. Thus, they are here. Or so the Steel Garrote say. Do you think so? I've always found her inflexibility comforting. Wodeka's edicts are clear. If you obey her laws, pursue justice, punish the guilty, and give fealty to the Emperor, then you have pleased her, and I aim to please. But Wodeka does not trust. She demands that you declare yourself for her again and again. Her every request is a test, and her every test is an opportunity to disappoint her. I appreciate a god who makes you work for their grace. I don't want anything given to me for free. By all means. I trust whomever told you to consult a watcher also told you to avoid the one in the city. She is a liar and a thief.
Oh, did she take your money?
No. Anyway, watchers are individuals capable of perceiving souls. The soul may be in a living body, or it may simply be lingering, waiting to pass into the in-between. In either case, interacting with a soul allows a watcher to glimpse a person's past lives or their most deeply buried memories. Watchers are incredibly rare, and in Adir, highly controlled. Many people wish to know who they were in a previous life, and do not like what they learn. The smart ones stay hidden. They do not announce their powers, perhaps not even to themselves. Even a careful watcher risks inadvertently revealing themselves by knowing something they shouldn't know. Of the ones that are public, little is concretely known. But we hear things. They make good judges in Wodeka's courts, so long as they're controlled. The lords, it's rumored, buy and sell them to collect blackmail on their enemies. But I suspect many watchers are imprisoned or executed, or simply kill themselves. A watcher doesn't need your cooperation or consent to read your soul. They could learn everything about you, terribly damaging things about your parentage, for example, or things you did in a past life, without you ever knowing. You see how this could threaten the established order, undermine our betters' right to rule.
Yeah, but that's just one side to it. Imagine how a watcher feels, knowing what a threat they are to the status quo. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be keen on kings and emperors wanting me dead. Sounds like a lot of hassle.
Don't sell yourself short, Kai. I don't doubt you're an expert in people wanting you dead.
You're not wrong.
I rarely am. In any case, the Watcher is fundamentally a tragic figure. Of the few that survive our world, most are destined to go mad. Yes and no. So far as I understand it, a Watcher is born a Watcher. But it takes an event, often something shocking or traumatic, to bring a Watcher's powers to the fore. So you may be a Watcher, or I may be, or Kai, and we might not even know. Well, the Watcher of Cadnua is legendary. It was their castle Aethys destroyed when he began his campaign of terror in the Deadfire. Oh, by the Queen, I hope I get to meet them someday. In terms of local interest, you'll have heard of Runid, of course. And there was Ida. You may not know about her. She was a Watcher from the Living Lands. I believe she was an Orlan. She must have died, 150 years ago. Slain by a great serpent, gods treat kindly with her soul. Doubtless there are others, but most don't meet a good end. don't think so.
The envoy is right. You're basically a Watcher encyclopedia.
Why should a secretary be limited to knowledge of filing systems and how the ambassador takes his tea? I was a boy once. Watchers were a special interest of mine when I was young.
He sounds defensive to me. Does he sound defensive to you, envoy?
I am not a Watcher.
Exactly what a Watcher would say.
Both of you, please, your fun puts me at tremendous risk. This isn't a subject the Inquisitor takes lightly.
All right, all right. I know you're not a Watcher, Tyeg. You'd be better at dice.
Apology accepted. Of course. What would you like to know? If you're looking for a particular year, the first thing you should know about Paradise is that this isn't the kind of place where the locals keep records. And though it might be considered a distant backwater by the rest of the world, this city is the height of civilization by the standards of the living lands. As for who calls this place home, I suspect you could find a criminal, confidence man, or prophet from every civilization in the world here.
Hey, come on. You're gonna give the envoy the wrong idea. We've got draft dodgers, courtesans, and revolutionaries, too. You know, all the fun people.
In any event, as far as I can tell, Paradise has been this way since its inception. Thus the eclectic display of architectural styles. If nothing else, this city is a reflection of the countless people who have passed through it on their way to the interior. Depends on who you ask. Ambassador Hylgard will tell you that our remit here is to establish a secure and orderly environment from which to engage in trade. Inquisitor Liudwin will tell you we're here to break the frontier.
So, which is it?
Why not both? That's where you come in. Whether you find your desires aligning with the ambassadors or the inquisitors, neither can succeed until the Dream Scourge is ended. We are only beginning to see its effects here in Dawnshore, but the closer to the center of the island you go, the worse it gets. That bear you and the ambassador encountered in the Strangle Route isn't even the worst of it, and the tide of this soul plague is rising higher every day. Look, for all that I complain about this backwater, there are good people here, same as anywhere else. People who want to be able to walk to the market in the morning for their bread and eggs and know they won't be mugged. People who like it when the mail comes on time, and their skates are made from real copper, and their neighborhood peeping Tom ends up in the stocks. Those people, good and honest people, who pay their debts and honor their contracts and remember to thank the gods, they like us a lot. The Resistance, as such, are largely a group of misfits and criminals intent on undermining the rule of law. They take out loans with small Aediran banking houses and do not pay them, then assault the bankers who attempt to collect. They agree to contracts with families in Adir seeking homes, and when their ships arrive, promptly abandon them. When we levy a small tax to fund the repair of city roads, they set our counting house on fire. And when our fishermen return to port, they board their ships and sink them.
That's certainly one way to characterize them. It's not exactly wrong, but it's not exactly right either.
For decades, people like them ruled this city through fear. We imposed order, and now they oppose us. You, unfortunately, were caught in the crossfire. By all means. Well, you'll notice I'm nearly always here. If that man sleeps, I don't know about it. He wouldn't say, but I believe he relied on the Claviger far more than he lets on. And without the Claviger's steady hand at the rudder, the ambassador's struggling just to bail water from the sinking ship that is Paradise.
Claviger Aemon might have tolerated a little more chaos than the ambassador liked, but he kept this place humming. He's not someone you can easily replace, and not with one man alone.
It's a difficult job. The pressure sometimes gets the better of him. But if he loses his temper now and then, I can't blame him for it. Better him than me. He doesn't know what to do with himself. You know, in our first days here, he'd often walk to the end of the docks at sunrise. The work was done, the embassy was closed, and he'd still be wearing the same clothes he'd slept in at his desk. And he'd just stare out over the sea. He always seemed dissatisfied back then. I suppose, years later, he still does. Be serious. Most of us here didn't get sent to the frontier because we were anybody's favorite. The longer I'm here, the more likely the people who matter are to forget me. And I'd actually like to get back to High Crown someday. Get married, have a few kids, take the civil exams, and settle into a permanent clerkship.
I guess there are worse ways to spend a life.
Like rotting in this embassy. I'm an open book. Should you ever need me, I will be here. Safe travels, envoy.
Envoy, is it really you? I can't believe you're alive. When they dragged you to Liviona's clinic, I assumed the worst. How do you feel? Homesick already? After what you've been through, I can't say I blame you. But there's work to be done on the frontier. Good work, and I need you here at my side. Our first order of business is your purpose here in the Living Lands. Captain Cynric said you have a missive for me from the Emperor. Very good. I'm eager to see what our Emperor intends. Now, His Majesty names you a loyal servant of the Adiran Empire, and an extension of the throne's authority. Thank goodness. At least someone understands the gravity of our situation. Here's something to tide you over. But your work isn't finished just yet. You've seen how wild the Living Lands has become, both in nature and in politics. Sometimes I think the island has a mind of its own. No sooner had you arrived than you found yourself at the center of our troubles. At this point, I can't rule anything out. We're in uncharted waters. This embassy has no shortage of political foes, but the dream scourge is what keeps me up at night. You've seen firsthand what it can do in nature. We can't let it reach the cities. Thank you, Envoy. The island is in capable hands. Inquisitor Ludwine thinks the plague is a distraction. She's more concerned about these local rebels fighting against the Empire. They were paradisans once, law-abiding laborers. Now, they're fugitives and oath-breakers hiding amongst the populace. They've sabotaged our work, killed our soldiers, and the final straw, attacked you out in the open.
All the more reason to strike first, or so the thinking goes.
Whatever their reason, we have to retaliate for the good of the Empire. I won't lie to you, Envoy. Our position is tenuous. If we can't even defend ourselves, how are we to defend the Living Lands? But defend it we must, for the sake of everyone who calls this island home. Inquisitor Ludwine demands that someone hang for the attempt on your life. These Paradisan rebels must face justice. Ludwine goes where she likes, haunting the living lands like a vengeful spirit. She'll reappear when she chooses, and not a moment sooner. Let's make sure to give her some good news for a change.
Not many get a chance to solve their own murder, you know. I know someone who could help. A dwarven tracker named Marius. Kith or beast, there's little he can't find. He's staying at the Grinning Balarok, not far from Liviana's infirmary. We just take the main road east to the market, then head down the stairs and cross the canal. Rough part of town, even by the standards of Paradise. Marius is from the Tusks, about the harshest and remotest place the gods ever created, even by the standards of the living lands.
Trickery, lies. The gods did not build this place.
Let's just say no one survives out there without picking up a few skills, the kind we'll need if we're going to find hidden assassins. Especially if they're from the streets of Paradise.
I suggest you recruit as many allies as you can, but choose carefully. They, like you, will represent the Empire. But before we can send you off to parts unknown, we need assurances from the local healer that you're fully recovered. After all, you survived a brush with death. The health of your body is one thing, the health of your soul is another. An unusual course of treatment, but who am I to argue? Remember, the assassin is out there. You have the element of surprise. I suggest you use it.
Tracking down mysterious assassins with a godlike who returned from death, all while the rumored dream scourge spreads. Can't say I'm prepared, but I'm ready.
We'll talk more of the Dream Scourge when you return. Until then, Envoy.
How about we start with Marius at the Grinning Balarok? Besides, I could use a drink after all this.
Closed. But what's the point? It's useless without that Adra. Oh, you're a special one, you are. I thought all the godlikes were taken back, wherever they came from. Don't mean a thing by it. I'm glad to see not all the gods have abandoned us. I know we had one or two disappear lately. Gods took them back, I heard. Just another sign, I guess? You should know, this place is heading quickly into a swamp of madness. Even the plants and the animals feel it. Something is happening here. The plants and the animals are changing. No one knows why, or exactly what's doing it. Sapiento di Falva, alchemist and dreamer, at your service. My latest experiment was meant to solve the scourge that has come over the local flora and fauna, but it wasn't meant to be. I expected my main reagent to be delivered today, but I suppose the gods had other ideas. You may have noticed, or perhaps not, since no doubt you've been busy, that wildlife here has gone a bit wrong. No one knows how best to describe it, but we can all see it. Something is distorting the life around here, and I hoped to stop it. Possibly, yes. But now I can't begin my tests without my main reagent. I have everything I need, but the most important part, the luminous Adra, to cleanse the souls of the wildlife. The gentlemen who are supposed to acquire my Adra have not delivered it, and they seem to be avoiding me, as if they fear my wrath. At this point, I'll take any help I can get. My friends must have lied, or they got the Adra and they lost it. I can't imagine why else they would be acting so strange about it. Best of luck with that. I saw them briefly not too long ago, looking shifty and desperate. They were running around the paradise, talking to other scholars in the area. Guneth and Remio, I believe. And an older lady. Don't recall her name. I don't wish them ill, but I really need that Adra. Any luminous Adra will do, he said, as if the stuff were falling from the sky.
Step right up. I can tell you need more fire in your life. Or maybe more essence. Please buy something. I'm trying to prove a point. Of course not. I wouldn't sell you something I thought would kill you. That's not good for business. I did that once. I had to hire a watcher to get the phantom out. I suppose I shouldn't brag about that to a potential customer. My sister, the blacksmith, she doesn't think this will work out. I say she's wrong. Why keep a dagger under your pillow when you can use a ward stone instead? See? You understand? It's not cheating. It's being prepared.
Are you sure this will work?
Good sir, I'd bet my life on it. My formula is the most effective in the living lands.
I've tried 3 of these cures before. Why should yours be different?
If I gave my secret out, it wouldn't be special, would it? Now remember, 3 drops every time you wash your hair, only on the scalp.
What? I know I shouldn't be spending money on this, but I needed to try something.
Back for more supplies. You wouldn't believe how my new friend eats. The local animancer, if you can believe it. Sapiento vouched for me. He wants to study my soul. Mainly, he just asks a lot of strange questions. Could be worse. Every day is different, that's for sure. But I like it. It's made me realize how dull my life was before. Anyway, I'm not sure what kind of favor I could owe you, but I owe you one. Thank you. So much to do.
You there. You look like you know your way around... hello. I heard what happened. I see why you'd want to protect yourself. You mean enchanted? No. A shield does its job just fine. It doesn't need to be tinkered with. Talk to my sister if you're interested in that kind of thing. She's over there. At least I don't think she's blown herself up yet. I don't know where she gets it. I'd swear she was adopted if we didn't look alike. 3 generations of hammering, and then she comes along. Guess souls are strange like that. Probably because I made them. Or most of them, anyway. If it didn't keep them alive, they weren't skilled enough to use it. Ever heard the saying, a bad hunter blames Galawain for their bow?
I always thought they should move to High Market. Then they'd make enough to eat.
Your affairs of men have no place at this tree. Oh, it just doesn't work.
The hunters set that up as a way to earn some extra coin.
Ain't many ways into that camp from what I've heard. You might want to... Tempestuous Luandi caught your eye, huh? Watch yourself. Her aim is as sharp as her wit. Going to take on the ogre then? Reckon he's the most dangerous bounty we've got. Be careful. Oh, Octa. Now that's a dwarf with a chip on his shoulder. Heard he burnt the last ones that went after him alive. You're a brave soul, Octa. Spiders are bad enough as is, let alone big, mean bastards like Nasib. A pleasure, envoy. I'm Aldrich, the bounty master of Paradise. If it suits your fancy, check the board for work. The dangerous kind. Some more than others. Speak to me when you've got something to turn in. Hey, someone had to take the job. Ensuring that these threats to the good people of Paradise are eliminated is my way of helping. I guess I consider it my first steps down a long road to atonement. Apologies, friend, but that's none of your concern. I left there for a reason, and now I'm here. And that's all you need to know. Show it here. I don't envy you having gone into that horrid place, but I'm thankful you did so. Good. Too many good men and women died because of that bastard. May he face Magran's fires in his next life. Be safe out there, you hear?
So, you're the one they all crow about, eh? Best hunter and guide in all... Ha! The mighty Marius, deep in his cups, ready to take on the deadliest prey, providing they're asleep at the time.
Right. Take another sip of my cool. Rude not to finish a drink someone bought for you.
No wonder you're hiding behind a mug. You're too worried about being polite to survive out there.
The dwarf there is Marius. Best tracker I know.
I heard you're from Solace Keep. How great a survivor could you be, hiding behind stone walls all your life?
You don't know anything about me, you Adira Nimdut. So maybe go back and take another blessed day sip.
But here you are. Tell me, how does one get kicked out of a place that never lets anyone leave?
Dukte Drago Sakasat Jitule. You wanna talk so much, I'll cut you a second mouth across your throat.
I'm with you. Ready to crack some heads.
You stay out of it, Envoy. This isn't your problem. I haven't stopped an Imperial official since I left Adir. I guess it's about time I do another one. Come on, Maili. Let's show these people why you don't pick fights in the Balarok.
That's more like it. That's more like it. That's more like it.
Run when you get a chance, envoy.
Thanks, Marius. More blood to bleed.
Come on, Amakul. You know you love it.
We got them all. More.
Well, that was something. Haven't been to a bar fight in a while. Never really saw the point.
Marius, this is the infamous Adiran envoy. Envoy? Marius.
Well, any friend of Kai's is definitely a... person. You know your poisons. It was a test. That guy's such a nim dude, he thought he was doomed. And he actually believed I could pay the bartender to poison someone's drink. Gods, the taverns in Adir must be rough. Smart. The effects are more widely known. Let their imagination run wild on them. Noted. If I'm not mistaken, you're looking for someone to help find the people who killed you. I need to see the scene of the crime, over by the town gates. I promise there's something left there we can use to track them. Bloodstains, footprints, darts left behind. If we find anything at all, we can find your assassins. We'll figure this out, Amakul. Don't you worry.
Migrants' flames. Don't go around picking any more fights, you hear? The patrons like it, but they're not the ones who have to clean up after it. I like you. Takes balls to say that to the ones serving your drinks. Now, what'll it be? If you want information, I've got it. Just a matter of what you'll pay for it. There's a rumor about a valuable Pargroon stash north of here. You didn't hear that from me, though. Back there.
Saved my life. He would have killed me, and all for a few coins.
Think nothing of it. Any law-abiding citizen would have done the same. Nothing to see here, Envoy. The situation's under control. I caught this waste of life mugging a protected citizen. I just did what came naturally.
This comes naturally to you? Were you raised in Galawain's tusks?
I thought all Paradisans were protected citizens.
These things happen from time to time. Inquisitor Ludwine understands. I assume you do too. So that's how it is. All right then, whatever you say. We aren't exactly trained to de-escalate, but I'll tell the others. They'll come around, eventually. I wish I could say things have been quieter since you arrived.
Well, I can't say I've met one like you before, but I'm sure you hear that all the time. Oh, heavens no. I would never treat with such folk. But I know who would. Look for Remio up in the Pearl District, and who knows where Adelgund wandered off to now.